Manager blocks black man from meeting. Not knowing he's the new CEO who just pulled a $10 million deal. Marcus Taylor had always believed that first impressions were important, but he also knew that they could sometimes be misleading. As he walked through the glass doors of the corporate headquarters, he felt a mixture of excitement and calm confidence. Today was his first day as the new CEO of one of the largest companies in the country. It was a role he had worked tirelessly to earn, with years of experience in business, negotiations, and leadership behind him. Yet, even with all his accomplishments, he understood that stepping into a new workplace meant starting over in some ways, learning the culture and earning trust from the very people he would now lead. Dressed in a well-fitted navy suit and a crisp white shirt, Marcus carried a sleek black briefcase that contained important documents and notes about the company's ongoing projects. He had arrived early to make a good start and to show that he valued punctuality and professionalism. But despite his appearance, Marcus deliberately kept a calm and unassuming presence. He wanted to observe the company without announcing himself immediately, to see how the team functioned and how the culture felt from an outsider's perspective, even though, technically, he was no outsider. As he approached the main conference room, he noticed a small group of employees huddled near the entrance, whispering and glancing at him. They seemed curious, but none of them recognized him. Marcus gave them a polite nod, smiling gently, before moving closer to the door. He could hear the faint hum of conversation inside the room. The meeting was about a very important deal, a deal that would bring in $10 million in revenue, a deal Marcus had personally secured. This was exactly the kind of work that demonstrated why he had been chosen for the CEO position. When he reached the door, he was stopped by Lisa, the middle manager in charge of coordinating the meeting. She was a woman in her mid-30s, efficient, organized, and focused on ensuring that only authorized people entered. She looked at Marcus and immediately assumed he was some kind of vendor or perhaps someone trying to sneak into the meeting. She had never seen him before and was not expecting any visitors of his stature. "I'm sorry, sir," she said, her tone polite but firm. "This meeting is closed. Only invited participants can come in." Marcus looked at her calmly. "I understand," he replied, keeping his voice steady and professional. "I am supposed to be in this meeting. Could you please check?" Lisa's eyes narrowed slightly as she assessed him. In her mind, he looked like someone who didn't belong. Maybe it was his demeanor, or perhaps the fact that he didn't make a big entrance like most executives. Whatever it was, she felt certain she was doing the right thing by stopping him. "I'm afraid I really can't let you in," she said. "Please wait outside and I'll check with the organizer." Marcus nodded politely and stepped aside, holding back any hint of frustration. He understood the situation perfectly. From Lisa's perspective, she was just doing her job. But from his perspective, he couldn't help but feel a pang of irony. Here he was, Marcus Taylor, the new CEO, someone who had spent years negotiating major deals and leading large teams, and yet he was being blocked from a meeting that he technically owned. He took a deep breath and reminded himself to stay calm and professional. While he waited, Marcus observed the office environment around him. The space was modern and open, with glass partitions, bright lighting, and employees moving quickly but efficiently. There was a quiet hum of activity, the sound of phones ringing, keyboards clicking, and colleagues chatting in small clusters. Marcus noticed the energy of the workplace. It was fast-paced, focused, and filled with ambition. Yet he also noticed small signs of tension, people rushing, some looking stressed. He made a mental note that while the company had strong performance, there might be areas where culture and communication could be improved. As he stood there, some employees passed by and gave him curious glances. A few whispered among themselves, wondering who this man was. Marcus kept his composure, smiling politely when someone made eye contact. He understood that people naturally judge what they see. Appearance, demeanor, and even skin color could influence first impressions, sometimes unfairly. Marcus had faced assumptions and biases throughout his career, and he had learned to handle them with grace. Lisa, meanwhile, had returned to her desk to check the list of attendees. She was confident that she had done everything correctly, but a small feeling of doubt began to creep in. Something about the man's calm presence seemed familiar, though she couldn't place it. She shook her head, dismissing the thought, and told herself she was just imagining it. She returned to the door and repeated her polite instruction. "Please wait here. I'll get confirmation. Marcus nodded again, choosing to focus on something productive rather than let the situation frustrate him. He opened his briefcase and reviewed his notes about the $10 million deal, thinking about the strategy, the benefits to the company, and the people who had worked hard to make it happen. He knew that every member of the team would soon see the results of his efforts, and that the initial misunderstanding would soon become irrelevant. After a few minutes, a young assistant approached Marcus, looking a bit nervous. "Excuse me, sir," the assistant said. "Are you here for the executive meeting?" "Yes," Marcus replied simply. The assistant looked puzzled, then fumbled with her tablet. I think there might be some confusion. Let me check with the manager." She walked quickly toward Lisa, whispering in her ear. Marcus could hear snippets of their conversation, and a smile touched his lips. The truth was about to come out. Inside the conference room, the meeting had already started. Lisa stood at the front, presenting slides and updating the team about ongoing negotiations. She was confident, but there was a subtle tension in her posture. The energy in the room shifted slightly when the assistant whispered something in her ear. Lisa's eyes widened, and for a moment she froze. Outside, Marcus waited patiently. He could hear voices faintly from the meeting, but he stayed focused on his notes. He understood that patience and professionalism often spoke louder than words. He also understood that sometimes people make assumptions based on what they see, and that it was an opportunity for learning rather than conflict. Finally, Lisa approached him, her expression a mixture of surprise and embarrassment. "Marcus," she said, her voice faltering slightly. You're the new CEO?" Marcus looked at her calmly with a gentle smile. "Yes, I am. I think there was a little confusion." Lisa's face turned red as she realized her mistake. She had blocked the very person she should have welcomed. Marcus didn't scold her. Instead, he maintained his composure, understanding that everyone makes mistakes. He extended his hand in a gesture of professionalism and grace. Lisa shook it, still trying to process what had happened. I'm so sorry," she said. "I didn't recognize you." Marcus nodded. "It's okay. Let's focus on the meeting now." The assistant quickly escorted him into the conference room. As Marcus entered, all eyes turned toward him. There was a moment of silence, followed by murmurs of surprise and curiosity. Marcus greeted everyone with a warm, confident tone, immediately setting a professional yet approachable atmosphere. He acknowledged the misunderstanding briefly, but then directed everyone's attention to the agenda. He spoke about the $10 million deal, outlining the strategy, the expected outcomes, and the role each team member would play in ensuring its success. The team listened intently, impressed by his clarity, knowledge, and vision. Marcus had a way of speaking that inspired confidence, not through authority alone, but through genuine understanding and collaboration. As the meeting progressed, Lisa observed him closely. She was struck not only by his professionalism, but by his calm demeanor and ability to lead without arrogance. Marcus had turned what could have been an awkward and tense situation into a learning moment, showing that leadership was not about titles alone, but about actions, attitude, and respect for others. By the end of the meeting, Marcus had earned the respect of everyone present, not just as the new CEO, but as a leader who valued patience, professionalism, and understanding. Lisa, in particular, felt a deep sense of reflection. She realized how easy it is to make assumptions and how important it is to recognize people for who they are, not how they appear at first glance. Marcus left the meeting room with a quiet sense of satisfaction. The first day had started with a challenge, but it had already become an opportunity to set the tone for the company's culture under his leadership. He knew that the real work was just beginning, and that true leadership required not only business acumen, but also empathy, patience, and the ability to turn small misunderstandings into lessons that could benefit the entire team. Standing in the corridor afterward, Marcus looked around at the employees, noticing their renewed energy and focus. He smiled to himself, thinking about the journey ahead. There would be challenges, yes, but there would also be moments of growth, learning, and inspiration. Today had been the first step, and he was ready to lead with integrity, vision, and humility. The atmosphere in the conference room shifted the moment Marcus Taylor stepped in. Everyone's eyes were drawn to him, and for a moment there was silence. Staff members whispered among themselves, exchanging glances as they tried to reconcile the polite, confident man at the door with the new CEO they had only read about in emails. Marcus, however, remained calm and composed. He didn't rush or demand attention. Instead, he allowed his presence to speak for itself. Lisa, the middle manager who had blocked him earlier, felt a wave of embarrassment and surprise wash over her. She had spent the last few minutes presenting updates and guiding the discussion, fully confident that she had the meeting under control. Now, realizing that the man she had doubted and questioned was none other than the company's new CEO, she felt a mix of guilt and awe. Her hands trembled slightly as she tried to regain her composure. Marcus greeted everyone with a polite smile. "Good morning, everyone," he said. His voice was calm, clear, and measured, immediately setting a tone of professionalism. "I understand there was a little confusion earlier, but I think we can continue with the meeting." A young analyst, still wide-eyed, whispered to her colleague, "That's the CEO? He's so calm." Marcus didn't address the whispers directly. Instead, he pulled up his notes on the table, organized and detailed, showing that he was ready to dive into the meeting's agenda. He began by acknowledging the work that the team had done so far. "I've reviewed the progress on the $10 million deal," he said. "I want to commend each of you for your efforts. Negotiating a deal of this size requires teamwork, persistence, and attention to detail, and you've demonstrated all of that." Lisa, still feeling the weight of her earlier mistake, listened carefully. She realized that Marcus's reaction was not one of anger or reprimand. He hadn't criticized her for blocking him at the door. Instead, he focused on the task at hand. His approach immediately drew the team's attention and respect. Marcus continued, explaining the details of the deal. He broke down the strategy in simple, clear terms. "This deal represents not just a significant financial gain for the company, but also a long-term partnership that will open doors for future opportunities. Each of you has played a crucial role in bringing this to fruition, and I want to ensure we continue to work collaboratively to maximize its benefits." The staff listened attentively. There was a noticeable shift in energy in the room. Where there had been slight tension and distraction before, there was now focus, curiosity, and engagement. Marcus had a way of speaking that made complex business matters understandable to everyone, from junior analysts to senior managers. Lisa, in particular, was paying close attention. She had been so preoccupied with her duties and assumptions that she had almost missed the bigger picture. Watching Marcus lead, she realized that leadership wasn't about asserting authority or being feared. It was about guiding, listening, and inspiring people to give their best. As the discussion progressed, Marcus asked thoughtful questions. He inquired about specific challenges the team had faced during negotiations, listened carefully to their responses, and offered practical solutions. His approach was not to dominate the conversation, but to facilitate it, creating an environment where everyone felt their input was valued. One of the junior staff members, hesitant at first, raised a question about a minor risk in the deal. Marcus turned to him with genuine interest. "Thank you for bringing that up," he said. "Let's explore this further. It's important to address potential challenges early, and your attention to detail is exactly what we need to ensure success." The young employee's confidence visibly grew. He continued to contribute ideas, and soon, others in the room followed suit. Marcus's leadership style encouraged participation, showing that even small voices could have a big impact. Meanwhile, Lisa felt a mixture of relief and admiration. She realized that her initial judgment had been clouded by assumptions, yet Marcus's reaction had turned what could have been an awkward and tense situation into a teaching moment. She admired the grace and patience he displayed. At one point, Marcus paused and looked around the room, making eye contact with several team members. "I believe that every person here has unique strengths," he said. "Our success depends not just on individual talent, but on how well we work together. Respect, collaboration, and trust are just as important as skill and strategy. If we nurture these qualities, there's no challenge we can't overcome." His words resonated deeply. The staff members felt inspired, motivated to contribute more, and eager to be part of a team led by someone who valued not just results but people. Marcus had a rare ability to connect with the team on a personal level while maintaining a professional demeanor. As the meeting continued, Marcus guided the discussion through the key points of the $10 million deal. He highlighted milestones achieved, potential areas for improvement, and next steps. His insights were clear, practical, and informed by experience, yet delivered in a way that encouraged dialogue and collaboration. Lisa found herself reflecting on her behavior earlier. She had acted quickly, based on assumptions, and had almost caused a misunderstanding that could have undermined trust. Yet, Marcus had handled it with such calmness and professionalism that she felt more determined to improve, to learn, and to support the company's culture. She realized that leadership and growth weren't just about financial success. They were about fostering respect, inclusion, and understanding. At one point, Marcus shared a brief story about his experience negotiating similar deals in the past. He spoke about the challenges he faced, the lessons he learned, and how teamwork had been crucial to achieving success. The story was relatable and engaging, making the room feel more connected. Staff members nodded, some smiling, as they related his experience to their current work. Marcus then invited questions and suggestions from the team. He listened attentively to each point, never interrupting or dismissing anyone. When a concern was raised, he addressed it thoughtfully, providing solutions or asking for further input from others. His approach encouraged collaboration and reinforced the idea that everyone's perspective mattered. By the end of the meeting, the atmosphere had completely transformed. Staff members were more confident, engaged, and motivated. They understood not only the importance of the deal but also the values that Marcus embodied: patience, respect, humility, and collaboration. Lisa, in particular, felt a sense of personal growth. She had made a mistake, but she also saw firsthand how a true leader could turn a challenge into an opportunity for learning and improvement. She silently promised herself that she would be more aware of her assumptions in the future and more committed to supporting an inclusive and respectful work environment. Marcus concluded the meeting with a final note of encouragement. "This $10 million deal is just the beginning," he said. "Our work together will define the company's future, and I am confident that with the talent and dedication in this room, there's no limit to what we can achieve. Let's move forward with focus, collaboration, and respect for each other, and I promise we will reach new heights together." The team applauded, some standing, not just for the success of the deal, but for the leadership they had just witnessed. Marcus had made an impression that went beyond business. He had inspired trust, respect, and motivation. After the meeting, staff members gathered informally, discussing their impressions of Marcus. Many were struck by his calm presence, clear communication, and ability to lead without arrogance. Even those who had been skeptical at first found themselves eager to learn from him and follow his guidance. Lisa approached Marcus privately, her expression a mix of apology and admiration. "Marcus," she said softly, "I want to apologize for earlier. I didn't recognize you and I acted too quickly. I realize now how wrong I was and I hope I can make it right." Marcus smiled gently. "Thank you for acknowledging that, Lisa. Everyone makes mistakes. What matters is that we learn from them and move forward. I value your dedication and hard work, and I know you'll continue to play an important role in our team." Lisa felt a sense of relief and renewed commitment. She understood that leadership was not about punishing mistakes, but about learning, growing, and fostering an environment where everyone could succeed. As Marcus left the conference room, he felt a quiet satisfaction. The day had started with a small challenge, but it had become an opportunity to set a positive tone for his leadership. He had not only guided the team through an important meeting, but also demonstrated the values he believed in: patience, respect, collaboration, and integrity. Walking through the office afterward, Marcus noticed staff members greeting each other more warmly, sharing ideas, and moving with renewed energy. He smiled to himself, knowing that the seeds of a positive corporate culture were being planted. Today had been more than just a meeting. It had been a moment of connection, understanding, and inspiration. Marcus knew there would be challenges ahead, but he also knew that true leadership was measured not just by financial success, but by the ability to inspire, guide, and uplift others. And with a team like this, he was confident that they could achieve remarkable things together. After the meeting, the office felt different. There was a quiet energy in the air, a sense of focus and purpose that hadn't been there before. Marcus Taylor moved through the corridors with a calm presence, nodding politely to staff as they passed. His reputation as the new CEO had already begun to take root, and people who had been skeptical earlier were now curious and eager to observe his leadership style. Lisa walked behind him, still reflecting on the morning's events. She felt a deep sense of responsibility, not just for blocking Marcus from the meeting, but for her role in shaping how the office functioned. She had always prided herself on being efficient and organized, but she realized efficiency without awareness could lead to mistakes. Marcus's calm and respectful handling of the situation had left a lasting impression. She was determined to learn from it and improve. Marcus reached his office, a modest space by executive standards, but well lit and organized. He preferred simplicity over grandeur, believing that the focus should always remain on people and performance rather than symbols of status. As he settled into his chair, he reviewed emails, reports, and updates from different departments. Each document reminded him that leadership was not just about high-profile deals, but also about understanding the daily work of the team, listening to their challenges, and helping them overcome obstacles. He decided it was important to follow up with the team immediately. Leadership, he believed, was about communication and engagement. He walked back to the main floor and asked Lisa and the assistant to organize a brief, informal session with the staff who had been present in the morning meeting. The purpose was not formal or intimidating. It was to foster connection, answer questions, and build trust. As the staff gathered in the common area, Marcus greeted them warmly. "I want to take a few minutes to talk with you all," he said. "I value your work, your ideas, and your commitment. Today, we discussed an important deal, but I want you to know that every single one of you contributes to our success, and I want to make sure we're all moving forward together." The team listened attentively. The tone was informal, but the message was powerful. Marcus was not just addressing the business side of things. He was speaking directly to the people, recognizing their efforts and emphasizing collaboration and mutual respect. One of the junior staff members, a young woman named Nina, raised her hand hesitantly. "Marcus," she said softly, "I was worried at first. We've had new leaders before, and sometimes it feels like they don't really understand our day-to-day work. How do you plan to make sure we all stay connected and informed?" Marcus smiled warmly. "Thank you for asking that, Nina. It's a very important question. Leadership isn't about titles or authority. It's about listening, learning, and supporting each other. I plan to hold regular meetings, not just for updates, but to understand your challenges, your ideas, and what we can do to make your work more effective. I also want to encourage open communication. If there's something you feel needs attention, my door is always open." The room was quiet for a moment, then murmurs of approval spread among the staff. Marcus's words were not just empty promises. His tone, body language, and sincerity conveyed genuine care and commitment. People began to feel a renewed sense of motivation and belonging. Lisa, observing the interaction, realized that Marcus's leadership was not about asserting dominance, but about empowering others. She had learned a lesson about humility, awareness, and respect that she would carry with her for the rest of her career. She noticed the staff's reactions, the nods, the smiles, the attentive expressions, and understood that leadership could transform an environment more than any policy or directive ever could. Marcus then turned to the team and spoke about the $10 million deal, explaining the potential it held for growth, stability, and future opportunities. He broke down complex concepts into simple terms, making them easy to understand while highlighting how each person's work contributed to the bigger picture. "The deal we closed is not just a number," Marcus said. "It's a reflection of your hard work, dedication, and ability to collaborate effectively. But more importantly, it's a step toward building a culture where every achievement is recognized and every challenge is shared. We succeed together and we learn together." Staff members began to ask questions, offer suggestions, and discuss ideas more openly. Marcus listened to each comment carefully, responded thoughtfully, and encouraged dialogue. Even employees who had been quiet or hesitant felt comfortable contributing. The room was filled with a sense of engagement, curiosity, and mutual respect. After a while, Marcus shifted the conversation to long-term goals and vision. "I want us to think beyond immediate deals or numbers," he said. "Our company's success depends not just on profits, but on people, culture, and innovation. Each of you plays a role in shaping our future. I want to hear your ideas, your concerns, and your perspectives because they matter. Together, we can create a company that is not only successful, but also inclusive, supportive, and inspiring." One of the senior managers, David, spoke up. Marcus, it's refreshing to hear that. We've had leaders before who focused only on results and ignored the team's well-being. How do you plan to balance growth with a positive workplace culture? Marcus nodded thoughtfully. That's an excellent question, David. Growth and culture are not separate. They go hand in hand. A company can't achieve its potential if its people feel undervalued or unheard. I plan to implement systems that encourage feedback, recognize achievements, and provide support where it's needed. But culture isn't something that comes from the top alone. It comes from every one of us. That's why I want to work closely with all of you to build something meaningful together. The staff exchanged glances, some smiling quietly. They could sense the sincerity in Marcus's words. Unlike leaders who issue directives without explanation, he engaged them in the process, valuing their perspectives and encouraging participation. Lisa felt a renewed sense of purpose. She realized that her mistake earlier had been a moment of learning, not failure. Marcus had shown grace, patience, and professionalism, and she wanted to emulate those qualities in her own work. She also understood the importance of self-awareness and recognizing unconscious bias, lessons that extended beyond the office into everyday life. Marcus continued the discussion by addressing practical aspects of teamwork and collaboration. He spoke about communication, setting clear goals, sharing responsibilities, and supporting colleagues in their tasks. He emphasized the importance of recognizing each person's strengths and allowing them to contribute in ways that maximize their impact. The way we work together defines the outcomes we achieve, he said. A team that communicates effectively, trusts each other, and supports each other can overcome any challenge. That's the kind of environment I want to foster here. The team began to brainstorm ideas for improving workflows, streamlining processes, and enhancing communication. Marcus encouraged every idea, no matter how small, and guided the discussion to ensure that each suggestion was considered thoughtfully. The sense of engagement and collaboration in the room was palpable. Marcus also took a moment to address diversity and inclusion. I want this company to be a place where everyone feels valued, regardless of background, appearance, or role, he said. We all bring unique experiences and perspectives, and those differences make us stronger. I expect us to treat each other with respect, to listen without judgment, and to create an environment where everyone can thrive. Lisa nodded quietly, feeling the impact of his words. She realized that her initial judgment had been a missed opportunity to understand and respect someone's perspective. Marcus had turned that moment into a lesson for the entire team, and she felt motivated to be part of the positive change he was inspiring. As the session drew to a close, Marcus summarized the key points. Our work today has been productive, not just in terms of ideas, but in terms of building understanding and trust, he said. We've discussed challenges, shared ideas, and reflected on our culture. This is the foundation for our future success. I am confident that together we will continue to achieve remarkable things. The staff left the common area with a renewed sense of purpose. They felt motivated, heard, and valued. The experience had not only clarified the importance of their work, but also demonstrated the impact of leadership that is compassionate, inclusive, and engaged. Marcus returned to his office, satisfied but aware that the day was far from over. Leadership was not about a single meeting or a single deal. It was about consistent actions, continuous engagement, and fostering an environment where everyone could succeed. He reviewed notes from the session, reflecting on the ideas shared and planning follow-ups to ensure that momentum was maintained. Throughout the afternoon, staff members approached Marcus with questions, suggestions, and feedback. Each interaction reinforced the culture he was trying to build, one of openness, respect, and collaboration. Even Lisa found herself more confident in her role, motivated to contribute positively and learn from the example Marcus had set. By the end of the day, the office felt different. The energy was focused, the staff more engaged, and there was a renewed sense of possibility. Marcus had turned a challenging start into an opportunity to inspire, connect, and lead by example. The $10 million deal was not just a financial achievement. It had become a symbol of collaboration, respect, and the positive impact of thoughtful leadership. As he left the office that evening, Marcus reflected on the day. There had been challenges, moments of tension, and lessons to learn, but overall it had been a success. He knew that true leadership was measured not by authority or position, but by the ability to inspire, support, and empower others. And in that moment, he felt confident that the team was ready to move forward, united, motivated, and prepared to achieve great things together. Over the next few days, Marcus Taylor focused on building strong relationships within the company. He made it a point to walk through the office daily, greeting employees, listening to their ideas, and checking on ongoing projects. His approach was simple but effective. By showing genuine interest in the work and lives of the team, he began to earn their trust and respect quickly. Lisa, who had blocked him from the first meeting, continued to reflect on her actions. She realized that Marcus's patience and professionalism had not only addressed the misunderstanding, but had set a standard for how leadership should be conducted. She wanted to rise to that standard. She began paying closer attention to her interactions with colleagues, making a conscious effort to recognize their strengths and contributions. Marcus noticed the small changes in the office culture. Employees who had previously worked quietly and independently were now collaborating more openly. Meetings were livelier, and discussions were more thoughtful and inclusive. He understood that culture wasn't something that could be changed overnight, but he also saw the beginnings of transformation. To reinforce the positive changes, Marcus organized a company-wide session focused on collaboration and professional growth. He invited team leaders and employees from all departments to participate. The goal was to encourage communication, share achievements, and explore new ideas for improving both business performance and workplace culture. As the session began, Marcus addressed the group warmly. "Our company has accomplished a lot, but we must remember that success is more than numbers and deals," he said. "It's about how we work together, how we respect and support each other, and how we grow as a team. Today, I want to hear from all of you, your thoughts, your ideas, and your experiences. Together, we can build a stronger, more positive work environment." Staff members listened attentively. The atmosphere was collaborative, and Marcus's approach encouraged participation. One by one, employees shared their perspectives, discussed challenges they had faced, and suggested ways to improve communication and efficiency. Marcus responded thoughtfully to each point, validating their concerns and offering constructive guidance. During the discussion, Marcus addressed diversity and inclusion directly. "Every one of us brings a unique perspective," he said. "Our differences are a strength, not a weakness. I expect all of us to treat each other with respect and consideration, and to support one another in achieving both personal and company goals. By valuing everyone's contributions, we create an environment where everyone can thrive." Lisa spoke up, reflecting on her own experience. "Marcus, I want to acknowledge my mistake from the other day," she said. "I acted too quickly and made assumptions that weren't fair. I've learned from it, and I will do my best to support our team in the future." Marcus smiled warmly. "Thank you for your honesty, Lisa. Recognizing mistakes and learning from them is one of the most important parts of personal and professional growth. I appreciate your commitment to improvement, and I know you'll help others do the same." The session continued with brainstorming and problem-solving. Employees shared ideas for improving workflow, streamlining processes, and supporting one another in daily tasks. Marcus encouraged every suggestion, emphasizing that even small improvements could have a big impact. The team began to see themselves as active contributors to the company's success, rather than just participants in routine work. Marcus also took time to meet individually with team leaders. He asked about their departments, their challenges, and how they could support their teams more effectively. He offered guidance and advice, but also listened carefully, demonstrating that leadership was a two-way process. His presence was not intimidating, it was motivating. Leaders felt inspired to improve, not out of fear, but out of respect and admiration for his example. Over the following weeks, Marcus continued to implement small but meaningful changes. He introduced regular check-ins for departments to share updates and celebrate successes. He created opportunities for professional development, including workshops on communication, collaboration, and leadership. He encouraged mentorship among employees, pairing experienced staff with newer team members to foster growth and learning. The impact was noticeable. Employees who had once been hesitant to share ideas now spoke up confidently. Team collaboration improved and productivity increased. Lisa, in particular, became a stronger leader herself. She learned to recognize unconscious bias, treat colleagues fairly, and value contributions from everyone, regardless of position or background. Marcus also made it a priority to recognize individual achievements. He sent personal notes of appreciation, publicly acknowledged successes in meetings, and encouraged peers to celebrate each other's accomplishments. By doing so, he reinforced a culture of recognition and mutual respect. Employees felt valued, motivated, and eager to contribute their best work. The $10 million deal that Marcus had secured earlier continued to have a positive effect. It provided not only financial stability, but also confidence in the company's direction. Marcus used the deal as a teaching opportunity, explaining the strategies and teamwork that had made it possible. Employees appreciated the transparency and insight, which helped them understand how their efforts connected to larger outcomes. One afternoon, Marcus called a meeting with department heads to discuss long-term planning. He emphasized the importance of aligning individual goals with company objectives, fostering collaboration across departments, and maintaining a positive workplace culture. "Our success is built on trust, respect, and teamwork," he said. "We have talented people, but talent alone isn't enough. We must support one another, communicate openly, and celebrate our successes together. This is how we will continue to grow and achieve remarkable things." The department heads left the meeting feeling inspired. Marcus's vision was clear, his expectations were fair, and his leadership style encouraged initiative and accountability. They understood that he valued their expertise and judgment, and they felt empowered to lead their teams effectively. Meanwhile, Lisa found herself reflecting on her journey. She realized how much she had grown in just a few weeks. The experience of blocking Marcus from the meeting had been a turning point, teaching her humility, patience, and the importance of recognizing and addressing personal biases. She began mentoring junior staff, sharing her lessons, and fostering a more supportive work environment. Marcus continued to engage with staff personally. He made it a habit to visit different departments regularly, checking on projects, asking questions, and offering support. Employees began to see him as approachable and trustworthy, someone who genuinely cared about their work and well-being. Over time, the company culture shifted in meaningful ways. Collaboration became the norm, communication improved, and employees felt more engaged and valued. The office environment was no longer just about completing tasks. It became a place where people wanted to contribute, grow, and succeed together. Marcus also encouraged innovation. He invited employees to share creative ideas for new products, services, and processes. He celebrated experimentation, recognizing that mistakes were part of learning and growth. The team felt empowered to take initiative and explore new possibilities, knowing they had the support of leadership. Lisa noticed the changes in herself and her colleagues. People were more confident, motivated, and willing to collaborate. She realized that Marcus's leadership had created an environment where people could flourish, where mistakes were seen as opportunities to learn, and where success was shared and celebrated. The $10 million deal continued to bear fruit, but more importantly, it symbolized the transformation happening within the company. Success was no longer just about numbers. It was about teamwork, culture, and leadership. Marcus had demonstrated that true success required a balance of business acumen and human understanding. As months passed, Marcus's influence became evident in every corner of the organization. Employees were more engaged, managers more effective, and the company was moving forward with a shared sense of purpose. Marcus had taken a challenging start, a misunderstanding at a key meeting, and turned it into a foundation for lasting positive change. One afternoon, Lisa approached Marcus in his office. "I just want to thank you," she said sincerely, "not only for your leadership, but for showing me how to grow as a professional and as a person. I've learned so much from watching how you handle challenges and guide the team." Marcus smiled warmly. "Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate your dedication and your willingness to learn. Leadership is a journey, and it's inspiring to see you embrace it. Together, we can continue to build a company that values people, collaboration, and excellence." Lisa left the office feeling proud and motivated. She understood that growth, respect, and positive change required effort from everyone, not just the leader. She felt confident that the company was moving in the right direction and that they were all part of something meaningful. By the end of the year, the results were clear. Productivity had increased, employee satisfaction had improved, and the company had achieved significant growth. The culture of collaboration, respect, and inclusion that Marcus had fostered became a defining characteristic of the organization. Marcus's leadership had not only secured financial success, but had also created a workplace where employees felt valued, motivated, and connected. The story of the initial misunderstanding at the meeting became a shared lesson, a reminder that patience, professionalism, and respect could turn challenges into opportunities for growth. Looking back, Marcus reflected on how a single moment, a simple misunderstanding, had led to meaningful change. It had tested patience, revealed the importance of communication, and underscored the power of respectful leadership. But through it all, the company had grown stronger, and employees had learned valuable lessons about teamwork, empathy, and collaboration. Marcus knew there would be more challenges ahead, but he was confident. With a team that was engaged, empowered, and aligned with his vision, the company was ready for anything. The $10 million deal was just the beginning. The real success was the people, the culture, and the shared commitment to achieving remarkable things together.